Hey everybody, Walkabout. About minus 17 Fahrenheit. There's significant wind chill today, so the videoing is not going to be the greatest. But I am going to go walking around today and show you an English Bull Terrier who's already been out, very reluctantly, on a walk. And I'm going to take you around and show you some local water sources that I have and talk about the various pros and cons of each type of suburban urban water source. And on the way, we're going to post some fridge magnets and condoms to people that want them, and that will be great. And yeah, so I have to get dressed. Back in a sec. So the most obvious water source is rain. So a good rain barrel. I have an all-season one. I have two non-winter ones, and good roofs help a lot with that. You can, of course, also process snow, which is fine, but it takes a lot of energy and a lot of wood and a lot of time. So yeah, that's the obvious one. Again, like if you got an area like a balcony like I have, a couple of kiddie pools up there, you can store quite a lot of water. Alright, let's go to the next. So one of the neo-capitalist improvements we have is mail delivery. To big boxes, and you have a key and you have to stagger down and do it yourself. Nobody likes this, but there you have it. This is what they're doing, transferring the cost of delivery for extremely expensive mail onto the consumer, and this is what everything's about these days, isn't it? Anyway, just a bit of a rant about politics. Bye. So the next obvious one, storm ponds, storm drains. You'll see them pretty much everywhere. The problem with them, and it is a big problem, is that human beings put a lot of waste into their water. Oil on the roads, pesticides, paints, toxins. And storm drains, although the top surface will be clear 6 months to a year maybe in an shtf, closer to the bottom of it in a drought year, the bottom of those storm drains are going to be contaminated really for a long time. So a storm drain is not really where I would go for water. So when I was talking about hidden water sources, I was meaning stuff like this. It's a culvert and it has bulrushes in it, which are roots are edible if you want to dig them up and get low calorie carbs that way, a lot of effort. But at certain times of the year this will actually run with clearish water in it, and the bulrushes do tend to clear it out. Now all year round, except for when the ground is frozen, which for me is about 4 months of the year, 3 months of the year, you can come down here with a spade, a shovel, dig down 1-2 feet and get water, which you would need to treat obviously, but this is an obvious hidden source that most people just won't realise with a little bit of effort they can get water. So I think most people are familiar with this sort of thing in the urban, suburban landscape. We're busy little beavers, human beings, and we tend to have controlled and buried most of our rivers, sorry about the wind, most of the rivers and strands. So there's an easy source. Most people in the local area, if water deprived, would think of this. I would consider it. It wouldn't be too much of an issue. Again, it would take me 1 minute to walk down here, maybe 2 minutes. And it stretches down quite a ways. Let's go down to where it is. Now one of the things with the culverts is I suspect this drains from the storm pond. So I'd only want to really be taking from this when it's been raining a lot and grid down's gone on for a while and there hasn't been any actual pollution going into the storm drains for quite some time. Having the ability to open up fire hydrants might be a useful thing. I don't really think it's necessary for me, but certainly in a water deprived area, if you can get in legally or illegally and get away with it, open up a fire hydrant and drain water and store it. Early on might be a good idea. Ooh, it's windy. And again, at certain times of the year, it's very wet. And you can see the tracing of where the stream should be, and in fact it was if human beings will be again. So a spade, dig down. So this is one of the tributaries of the Simcoe, Lake Simcoe, and having tromped around I happen to know that this only goes through basically forest and very, very little agricultural land. So this I would consider a good source of fresh water, and I would filter it and treat it. But if I couldn't filter and couldn't treat it in year 2 or 3, I wouldn't be that concerned, but I would always boil. So there's lots of these around, and in Canada, as you probably guess, you need to have the ability to break through the ice in part of the year. So there's lots of these around, and knowing where the water comes from is absolutely critical. But also bear in mind, a lot of these water sources belong to people, and they have houses, and they might get really agitated. For example, you wouldn't really want to end up in their garden. Well, maybe you would. But leave their corsos. Beautiful dogs, but I think they would eat me. Alright. Okay. So another thing to know is what's in the local neighbourhood. Look at that dog. People that put dogs outside in the winter need to be castrated slowly. Anyway, they have fire extinguishers in them. A lot of places do, and you're looking for the water type only. That's also a source of water. They're kind of heavy, and in the absence of gasoline and widespread starvation, you might actually find fire extinguishers that are water only. And they're actually a good source of water, but again, boil it. And you'd also possibly find gasoline, diesel, axes, first aid kits, salt, a whole bunch of stuff in areas like this. And in most SHTF they won't be unavailable to you, but in some they might be. So it's always worth knowing what's where and what it could have there. So, slightly off topic in terms of water, but the topic of water is actually including fire starting and boiling, of course. In your local neighbourhood, do you know where the Boys and Girl Scouts are? Where the Cub Scouts are? Where the Sea Cadets are? The equivalents? Do you know where all those volunteer child organisations are? In some SHTFs, their buildings might be accessible to you and be full of unused stuff that you could actually repurpose and reuse and even distribute amongst your community. So knowing where stuff is ahead of the game is really critical, which is why I say have a Google satellite map of your home and any bug out locations down to a fairly good size, and walk around the area a lot. A lot of preppers online, I notice, are driving around a lot, and driving you're going to miss lots of stuff, and they're also not really doing much for your health. To know an area you have to be on foot. You know, it's very easy to drive around this area, shoot a video like this out of the car. You might not notice the corsos in the field. You might not notice the dog tied up. All of those kind of threats and imperilments you want to know about before you actually engage. Alright, last one coming. Shea Hooples, and the wind's getting up, of course. So there's a bit of a panorama. Storm drains over there, hidden streams there, hidden streams there, fire services over there, and there. Now, one of the things that always tickles me is this water source. For those people who don't recognise what this is a Canadian swimming pool most of the year. And people say, swimming pools, thousands of gallons in my swimming pool. Yeah, okay. But have you considered what's in a swimming pool? A lot of people don't use just sodium hypochlorite. They use cheaper versions of bleaching agents. They're actually are fairly toxic for humans in large amounts. One of the things I would advise you do if you have access to a swimming pool in the long term, the beginning of a long-term grid down, is that maybe store some of it for washing and stuff like that, maybe quite a lot of it for that. But in terms of drinking, I drain the thing, and then I would use it for rain collection, because The surface area is fairly large, and if you have a lot of rain like we do here, it's going to fill up to about a foot, half a foot pretty quickly. It's going to be brackish, you're going to have to treat it, but at least you're not drinking chemicals, which is kind of important long term. The other thing you can easily do, which is I would do with the kiddie pools on the balcony, is actually construct tap supply to increase the surface area to run into that. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I've got to do some work now, so au revoir.